Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Best Brew Ever. This episode is the Bicentennial episode. This is December 11th, 2016. December 11th, 1816 was when the state of Indiana, which I live in, became part of the United States. So I kind of talked about in the last episode, the end of the last episode, about doing a Bicentennial beer, and that's what the brew session in this episode is about. Now it's not an all grain, which I would have liked to do, but it's, my original recipe wasn't all grain, but I had to convert it to kind of like a partial mash. So it's got grains in it, but I had to use extracts to go ahead and finish the job. But it's still hopefully going to be a great beer. What actually makes it a Bicentennial is the hops. I used two kinds of Centennial hops. I used the pellet and whole leaf, hence Bicentennial. It's a cream ale, pretty much the same recipe for the first cream ale that we've made, but just converted to partial mash. So hopefully this is going to turn out as good as the first one, because that first cream ale was awesome. It was delicious and went fast because I couldn't stay out of it. It was just great. So this is going to be kind of a test for me because I converted it, so, and it's different hops. So hopefully it's going to come out as good as, obviously it's not the same recipe. It's based on the original recipe. So we'll just have to see, and I doubt it's going to be something that I'm going to hate. There's few beers that I'm just like, man, I can't drink this. There's very few beers. I'm, looking forward to this one. I wanted to, like I said before, I wanted to be drinking it today, but with my planning skills, that didn't happen. But at least, I've got it in the fermenter, and like I was talking about, this is going to be a beer that I'm going to take for, the family Christmas. But, before we get on to showing the process of making this Centennial, we got to show the Walking Dead, the pale ale that we made in the last episode. And just let me say, I think I got some left. I think I saved some. So let me go pour a pint. Hopefully it doesn't kick right now. I've been, stepping around it. I haven't been drinking it as much as I wanted to. It came out good, but just let me pour a pint, and hopefully it does not kick. There it is. It didn't kick. It's hard to say. It's not. It's cloudy. It's got some chill haze, and it's also not overly clear anyway. It doesn't, even when it warms up, it doesn't clear up a whole lot. But I don't really care a lot about that right now with my beers. I haven't really needed them to be crystal clear. I'm all about flavor, so as long as they taste good, that's what I want, obviously, rather than to taste good than to look good. But let's see what she's tasting like today. It's still good. I actually, the day after I kegged it, because I kind of fast carved it, and I actually think that now, after it's been a week, it's a little over carved, but not too much. It's still fine. But the day after I kegged it, I poured me a pint, and I think it was better the day after I kegged it than now. And it tasted, the 2 days after I kegged it, the first 2 days after I kegged it, it tasted like orange juice almost. It had this great flavor from those, the Citra hops and the Centennial. It had like an orange juice flavor to it with a slight bitterness, but it was awesome. And I think that's where the dry hopping comes in, to where, on this one I wasn't able to dry hop it because of the fermenter. I couldn't get the lid off. So I think it would definitely benefit from the dry hopping, and I definitely think I'm going to make this one again, because now I got to know what it's going to taste like with the dry hop. But it's good. That orange citrus flavor is kind of faded out of it, and now it still has a slight bitterness. And very, very slight hints of citrus, but I mean, it's not. It's more just like a pale ale now. It's a good pale ale, but it's nothing that is blowing my mind. But like I said, the first 2 days where it had that orange juice flavor, which, I mean, that kind of gave it another level of beer, because I know there's no oranges in it, and to me that made it different. It set it out on its own, and that's what I was looking for, especially after smelling that tropical fruit aromas coming out of the airlock when it was fermenting. I was expecting something like that, but now it's kind of all settled down. The hops have kind of settled down. It's still a good beer. It's very drinkable. Little bit over carb, but that's on my end. Yeah, I mean, it's a good beer, and it's not something that that's some pale ales are kind of taste, I guess, over bittered sometimes. This one is just right. It's dead on. It's the way it should be, in my opinion. And I mean, you can see it's got good lacing on the glass there. And this was an all grain, so it's full bodied. Not lacking anything. So I'm very happy with the way it turned out. But it just, now I gotta know what it's like with the dry hop. So I'll probably make it again. I might not record the whole thing, but I'll definitely, if I make it again, I'll post. Maybe I'll just show the dry hopping part of it, because I wasn't able to do it in the last episode. Maybe I'll show the dry hopping, and then the how it came out afterwards. But that's pretty much it for the Walking Dead Pale Ale. So let's go ahead and get into today's brew day, or for this episode is the Centennial. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's nothing outrageous. It's more symbolic of the Centennial hops, but for me, it's just another step in brewing, and changing recipes around, what goes good here, there, and it's kind of I converted this recipe on Brewer's Friend online, and this was my first time really messing with that a whole lot, and I really like that. You can do a lot with it. I feel pretty confident in this beer, and it's just see how it turns out. I mean, I really don't know what I'm expecting, other than a great beer. So I'm gonna go ahead and check out how that brew day went, and I'm gonna enjoy this Walking Dead Pale Ale. You enjoy this one. All right, in this brew day for the cream ale, I got 2 gallons of water up to 160 degrees for the strike water. Later on, I kind of realized that was probably a little too high for the amount of grain I have. Probably next time I'll probably do it about 150, because that's where the mash temp needs to be anyway. So in my grain bag here, I have 1.5 pounds American 2-roll, half pound of American 6 roll, 8 ounces of flaked corn, and 4 ounces of Crystal 40. So I didn't have the brew in the bag type grain bag, so I had to use my my hot bag. And actually I was lucky because it fit perfect the amount of grain that I had, but it was still kind of a hard time to try to essentially mash in that little bag. Here I'm just kind of massaging the sides because I can't really get in there to mix up the grain, make sure there's no dry spots. So I'm just trying to work in the sides and get that water incorporated into the grains. And eventually I did decide, man, I gotta make sure that I'm not just wasting this opportunity of have these grains mashed in here. So I'm trying different things. Trying to get a little strike water down into the grain bag to get incorporated into the mash. And then eventually I just said I'm just going to try to do what I can to get that spoon down in there and incorporate the grain into the water the best I can. Even if I get a little bit of the grain into the water, I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much. And I did a little bit because you see I kind of dipped it in the spoon after I had some grains, drawn it into the strike water. But it wasn't a whole lot in there, and I just didn't really see anything floating in there. So and actually, to my surprise, the grains weren't all that dry inside there. They looked like they were pretty much incorporated anyway. It was just kind of just kind of freaking out about it. But everything looked like it was incorporated. No dough balls, no dry spots. So after I was satisfied with the mash, I went ahead and decided to seal up the bag and get it ready for a saccharification rest. I kind of made sure that all the grains were submerged in the water, and tied it off so it wouldn't slip down in there, and the grains wouldn't come out of the bag. Just kind of secured it to the side of the pot. Now we just make sure we have a temperature of 150 and leave it for the 1 hour sack rest. An hour later, we have our grains in the bag. I kind of tied it off to a handle on my cabinet there, let it drain in there, and we're kind of doing like we're actually doing a sparge here. I have another pot. I have some sparge water at 170 degrees, and doing my best to kind of rinse the grains that were just mashed. Not very easy in this little bag. I wish I had some way to kind of dump it into the bag, but I'm doing the best I can. This is not the best method because it's actually kind of burning my hands, but like I said, I just need to try to rinse that out, and so I can get the benefits of all those grains. And eventually I just said I'm just going to try to open up the grain bag and pour the water down into it, because I wanted to get all the sugars rinsed out of there, all the flavor out of there. But it was just too hot, and I couldn't hold it. The water was soaking into the grain bag and burning my fingers, and so I just went ahead and did the best I could, try to pour it on top of the grains through the outside of the grain bag. And I mean, you can, if you look at the wort there, you can see that it's getting some good color. So I'm pretty confident that I rinsed it pretty well. I didn't want to overfill this pot because I still have 3.3 pounds of liquid extract, light liquid extract, and 2 pounds of dry malt extract. And you see, I went ahead and kind of dunked the grain bag into the sparge water, just to try to rinse any grains I could, get any sugars out of there I could. And then I went ahead and kind of stirred it around, just get whatever I could out of there. I don't think it was a bad decision to do that, because you can see the water taking on a little bit of color. So like I said, I want to try to benefit the best I could. And in the first pot, it's got a nice kind of hay color in there. So I'm pretty confident that this little mini mash worked out. So now here is our 3.3 pounds of light Pilsen liquid malt extract. I had it in warm water, soaking in warm water the cans to help it kind of loosen up in there, because this stuff is beyond thick, people who know. And I'm just gonna mix it around in there. I don't have the heat on right now. Because you don't want to scorch the bottom. That's a ton of sugar right there. So heat off, but that wort is hot. You can see the steam coming off of it, so that alone, just from the mash, is good enough to dilute the sugar. Just get as much as I can out of there, and then go ahead and put some hot water in the container, let it sit for a minute, and then pour the rest in there. I go ahead and mix that thick malt the best I can, try to get all of that syrup incorporated in your wort, get all the stuff off the bottom. See, it kind of looks still kind of thick down there because you have that, like I said, thick syrup, that malt extract. Try to get it the best you can, and when you think you're ready, go ahead and put in your 1 pound of light dry malt extract. You're actually going to do 2 pounds, but obviously you're going to do one at a time, and incorporate that into your wort. Mix it up. Get the little sugar balls in there. Make sure you mix it up real good, and then put in the rest of the malt extract. Now once you bring your wort up to a boil, go ahead and put in your 0.18 ounces of Centennial pellet hops. This is the same grain bag the same bag that I used for the grains. I rinsed it out and got my hops in there, and just regular brewing from here on out. Just kind of tie it off to the side, let it go. It's a 60-minute hop addition, and then the leaves, which we have here, the whole leaf hops, 1 ounce Centennial after the pellets have been in there for 45 minutes. We'll go ahead and drop in our leaf hops, which makes it the Bicentennial, and get that in there, incorporated well. And the same thing, it's just gonna sit and boil for the last 15 minutes. After the boil, you want to go ahead and get your wort in an ice bath and cool it down to pitching temperature. You dump it in your fermenter here. Now that was both the pots of wort that I had on there, if you remember from earlier. Get all that beautiful little syrup out of there. And now we go ahead and some filtered water. I go ahead and fill up the rest of my fermenter to the 5-gallon mark here. And we pitch our rehydrated Safale USO5. Try to get all that wonderful yeast in there. Fill up our airlock. Alright folks, there it was. The Indiana Bicentennial beer. I hope you enjoyed it. You can see that, still I have to plan a little more, and it wasn't so much, I guess it was my fault planning on this one. I didn't have the grain bag, but I think it still worked out, well. It was just a little more inconvenient, and the crazy thing is, like an hour into this beer, the grain bag showed up. I always ordered it through Amazon. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but this is beer making. You improvise, you make things work that you have. You look around. What can I use? Is that going to contaminate something? And you got to look at everything and make wise decisions. I think that was a fine decision. I mean, the hot bag that I usually use, I use as a grain bag in this one. I fit all my, the grains I had, and I actually had to mash those. So I think it worked out. It has great color. I think hopefully, thing I forgot in this one, I didn't put any maltodextrin in it because I didn't have a lot of grain in it. Hopefully the grain that I have will give it, a little more body than it probably would have had just with that extract. So that's the only kind of thing I'm worried about. So that's it for this episode of this nice Centennial Cream Ale, or Bicentennial Cream Ale. I appreciate the subscribes and the likes. I know I'm still just getting off the ground here, but hopefully you guys are enjoying what you're seeing. Hopefully you can take something away from this, and hopefully you guys keep coming back and watching. The thing that when I watch YouTube videos, which I'm still a YouTube watcher, I still watch and learn from all kind of different things. That the videos that I'm watching, are people are saying that subscribing is not enough right now. I guess you don't get all the alerts and showing like before. You subscribe, somebody uploads a video that you subscribe to, you get an alert saying they've done it. So now I guess in the little bell in the corner, you got to click on that and then click to be sent notifications. So if you want to see the new episodes from Best Brew Ever, make sure to click on the notifications, so you don't just think, well, this guy's not uploading nothing no more, because I am. But make sure you click on that to be notified, and hopefully before long I can get some other content on here. Like I've been saying, I shot some other video other than brewing, and but it was a camera that was gifted to me, and it's kind of glitchy, so I'm having some problems with that video. But hopefully before long, like I want to get a whole list of content to give people a variety of things to watch on here. But I still want to hang with my beers. I want to keep going doing that, but I just want to give a variety of things like I intended from the get-go on this channel. But like I said, I really appreciate the subscriptions, and I'm going to try to come up with some cool things. Like I said, the all grains will definitely be coming back. I have a lot of ideas for that. But right now I'm just in a situation where I'm going to have to do partial mashes, extracts with steeping grains and things like that, or maybe just some smaller beers. Might be able to do just some all grain, small batch beers, just to keep things going, keep things interesting. I get bored too if I just do extracts, plop, 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 done. It helps me out a lot, but it still gets kind of boring. And I like to experiment and see how things work with each other, different hops, different grains, and I like that kind of stuff. That's why I got in it. It's cool. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.